Maya Chen walked slowly down the busy street. Her white cane tapped gently on the ground in front of her. The sounds of the city filled her ears. Cars drove by. People talked as they walked past. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear music. Coming from the small cafe, Maya was 17 years old. She had been blind since she was born, but Maya had something special. She could play the piano better than most people. Music was her world. When she played, she forgot about everything else. Today was different. Maya felt nervous as she walked toward the big music school. Her music teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had asked her to come to a special class. A famous piano player named Victor Kozlov was going to teach students. Mrs. Rodriguez thought Maya should watch and learn. Maya did not want to go. She knew what happened when she went to places with many musicians. People looked at her strangely. They whispered things about the blind girl. Some people felt sorry for her. Others thought she did not belong there, but Mrs. Rodriguez had been kind to Maya for 3 years. She was the only teacher who believed Maya could be a real musician, so Maya said yes. She would go to the class. Maya reached the music school. It was a big building made of old stone. She could hear her footsteps echo as she walked through the front door. The smell of old wood and music books filled the air. Students walked past her, talking about the famous visitor. A student helper showed Maya to the concert hall. The room was huge. Maya could tell because her voice sounded small when she said thank you. The helper led her to a seat in the front row. Maya sat down and placed her white cane next to her chair. She opened her bag and took out her music sheets. These were special sheets with raised dots that she could read with her fingers. The dots were called Braille. Her music was written this way so she could learn new songs. More students came into the room. Maya heard them talking excitedly. Some had heard Victor Kozlov play in big concert halls. Others had only seen him on television. Everyone seemed excited to meet him. Maya touched her music sheets nervously. She had practiced for hours every day since she was 4 years old. Her father had first shown her the piano when she was very small. He had died when Maya was 10. But before he died, he told her that music would always be her friend. Her mother worked 2 jobs to pay for Maya's music lessons. They did not have much money. But her mother believed in Maya's gift. She saved every dollar she could so Maya could keep learning. The room became quiet. Maya heard footsteps walking across the stage. A man cleared his throat. Then he spoke in a loud, clear voice. This was Victor Kozlov. Maya had heard his recordings many times. He played the piano like no one else. His fingers moved so fast they seemed to fly over the keys. He could play the hardest songs without making any mistakes. Victor began to talk about music. He spoke about how hard it was to become a great pianist. He said that only a few people in the world could really master the piano. He talked about the long hours of practice. He mentioned the need to read music perfectly and play with exact timing. Maya listened carefully. Everything Victor said was true. Playing piano was very hard. But as she listened, something in his voice made her uncomfortable. He sounded like he thought he was better than everyone else. Victor asked if any students had questions. A few raised their hands. He answered their questions, but his answers sounded cold. He seemed to look down on the students, like they were not good enough to learn from him. Then Victor's eyes found Maya. She could not see him looking at her. But she felt something change in the room. The other students became very quiet. Victor stopped talking for a moment. Maya did not know what was happening. She just sat quietly with her hands folded on her music sheets. She tried to listen to what Victor would say next. Victor's voice came again, but now it sounded different. There was something mean in it. Something that made Maya's stomach feel tight. Well, Victor said loud enough for everyone to hear. It seems we have someone here who thinks music is just about listening. How interesting. Maya felt her face get warm. She knew he was talking about her. All around her, students shifted in their seats. No one said anything, but Maya could feel them all looking at her. She wanted to leave. She wanted to take her cane and walk out of the room. But her legs felt heavy. She could not move. Victor kept talking. I suppose it's good that young people with challenges want to experience music. Very inspiring, really. His voice sounded sweet, but Maya could hear the meanness underneath. Maya had heard this kind of talk before. People often spoke to her like she was a child, even though she was almost an adult. They used words like inspiring and brave, when all she wanted was to be treated like everyone else. Mrs. Rodriguez had told Maya about people like this. Some people could not see past Maya's blindness. They thought that being blind meant she could not do things well. They were wrong, but Maya had learned that proving them wrong was not always easy. The room stayed quiet. Maya could hear people breathing. She could hear the sound of clothes moving as students looked back and forth between her and Victor. No one spoke up for her. No one told Victor to stop being mean. Maya thought about her father. He used to tell her that music was a language that everyone could speak. He said it did not matter if you could see or not. Music came from the heart, not from the eyes. She thought about her mother, who worked so hard to pay for music lessons. Her mother always told her that she had a gift. She said that gifts were meant to be shared, not hidden away. Maya thought about all the hours she had practiced, all the songs she had learned, all the times music had made her feel happy when the world seemed dark. Victor was still talking. He was telling the other students about the importance of sight in music. He talked about reading notes on a page and watching the conductor's hands. Everything he said seemed designed to point out what Maya could not do, but Victor did not know what Maya could do. He did not know that she had memorized hundreds of songs. He did not know that her fingers could find any note on the piano without looking. He did not know that her ears could hear things that other people missed. Maya made a decision. She would not let this man make her feel small. She would not let him think that blind people could not be great musicians. She would stay in her seat and listen. And if the chance came, she would show him what she could really do. The encounter was just beginning. Victor walked closer to where Maya was sitting. His footsteps were slow and heavy on the wooden floor. Maya could feel him getting nearer. The room was so quiet that she could hear other students breathing. "You there in the front row, Victor," said. His voice was loud and clear. Maya knew he was talking to her. "Yes, you with the white stick. Would you like to come up here?" Maya's heart started beating faster. She did not want to go up on the stage. She knew Victor was not being kind, but everyone was looking at her now. She could feel their eyes on her face. Slowly, Maya stood up. She picked up her white cane and walked toward the stage. Her legs felt shaky, but she tried to walk normally. She had walked on many stages before, but this felt different. This felt dangerous. "Careful now," Victor said as Maya stepped onto the stage. "We wouldn't want any accidents." Some students laughed a little. Maya felt her face get hot with shame. Victor moved to the big piano in the center of the stage. It was a beautiful black piano that made rich, deep sounds. Maya had heard pianos like this before, but only on recordings. "Since you are here to learn," Victor said, "perhaps you can help us with a little test." He sat down at the piano and placed his hands on the keys. "Tell me what key I am playing in." Victor pressed down on several keys at once. The sound filled the room. It was a complex chord with many notes. Maya listened carefully. Her years of training had taught her to hear exactly which notes were being played. "D-flat major," Maya said clearly, with added tensions on the 9th and 13th. Victor's eyebrows went up. He had not expected her to answer so quickly or so correctly, but he was not ready to be impressed. "Lucky guess?" Victor said with a cold smile. "But music is not a game show, young lady. Music requires much more than just listening." He stood up from the piano and walked around Maya like she was something in a museum. "Real music," Victor continued, "requires sight. You must be able to read notes on a page. You must watch the conductor's hands. You must see your own fingers on the keys." With each word, his voice got louder and meaner. Maya stood very still. She had heard words like this before, but never in front of so many people, never from someone so famous. She wanted to tell Victor that she could read music in Braille. She wanted to explain that her fingers knew exactly where to go on the piano, but she could not find her voice. Music also requires precision. Victor went on. Years and years of proper training. Training that requires the best teachers and the most expensive schools. He looked around the room at the other students. I doubt our friend here has had access to such things. This hurt Maya more than anything else he had said. It was true that her family did not have much money. It was true that she could not go to the most expensive music schools. But Mrs. Rodriguez was a wonderful teacher, and Maya had worked harder than anyone she knew. Victor walked back to the piano. He played a fast, difficult piece that showed off his skill. His fingers moved so quickly that they seemed to blur. When he finished, he looked at Maya with a satisfied smile. You see, he said, this is what real piano playing looks like. This requires years of study with master teachers. It requires perfect sight and perfect technique. He paused and looked at the audience. It requires things that not everyone can have. Some students in the audience looked uncomfortable. They shifted in their seats and looked down at their hands. But no one said anything. No one told Victor to stop being cruel. Victor was enjoying himself now. He could see that he had made Maya feel small, and this seemed to make him happy. Of course, he said in a fake sweet voice. I don't want anyone to think I don't appreciate inspiration. The word inspiration came out of his mouth like it tasted bad. Maya knew what he meant. People often called her inspiring when they really meant they felt sorry for her. It's very touching, Victor continued, when people with challenges try to participate in the arts. Very brave, really. Even if they can never truly succeed, the effort is ... admirable. Maya felt tears starting to form in her eyes. She tried to keep them from falling, but it was hard. Victor's words were like knives cutting into her heart. Each word told her that she did not belong here. Each word said that her dreams were foolish, but the worst part was that no one was helping her. All these students who loved music, and none of them would stand up for her. They just sat quietly and let Victor be cruel. Victor walked to the front of the stage. He looked out at all the students like a king looking at his subjects. Music, he announced, is not about feelings or inspiration. Music is about skill and training and natural talent that cannot be taught. He turned back to Maya. Some people are born to be musicians. Others are born to be audience members. There is no shame in knowing which one you are. Maya's hands were shaking now. She wanted to run off the stage and out of the building. She wanted to go home and never touch a piano again. Maybe Victor was right. Maybe she was fooling herself, but then she remembered something. She remembered the first time her father had put her hands on piano keys. She was only 4 years old. Her tiny fingers had pressed down on the white keys, and the most beautiful sound had come out. Her father had smiled so big that day. Maya, he had said, you have magic in your fingers. She remembered her mother crying the first time Maya played a whole song by herself. Her mother had hugged her tight and said, you are going to bring joy to so many people. She remembered Mrs. Rodriguez telling her that music was not about what you could see. It was about what you could feel and share with others. Victor was getting ready for his final attack. He walked back to Maya with that cold smile on his face. Perhaps, he said very slowly, our friend here would like to demonstrate her abilities for us. The way he said abilities made it clear that he did not think Maya had any real abilities at all. I am sure we could all use some entertainment, he added. Some comic relief to break up our serious study, comic relief. Victor thought Maya would be funny to watch. He thought her playing would be so bad that people would laugh at her. The room was completely silent now. Every person was waiting to see what would happen. Some students looked sorry for Maya. Others looked curious about what she would do. A few looked excited, like they were about to watch something amusing. Maya stood on the stage feeling very alone. She thought about all the reasons she should say no and walk away. She thought about how safe it would be to just leave quietly, but then she thought about something else. She thought about every person who had ever told her she could not do something because she was blind. She thought about every door that had been closed to her. She thought about every time someone had made her feel like she was not good enough, and she thought about the music inside her. The music that had been growing stronger every day for 13 years. The music that made her feel alive and happy and complete. Maya took a deep breath. She was tired of being quiet. She was tired of letting people like Victor make her feel small. It was time to show the world what she could really do. "I would be honored to play for you," Maya said. Her voice was quiet but steady. The room exploded with whispers. Students turned to each other with surprised faces. No one had expected Maya to say yes. Everyone thought she would walk away quietly after Victor's mean words. Victor's smile got bigger. He was very pleased with himself. He thought Maya was walking into a trap. He expected her to play something simple and bad. Then everyone would see that he was right about blind people and music. "Wonderful," Victor said, clapping his hands together. "How delightful." He moved away from the piano like he was giving Maya a great gift. "The stage is yours, my dear." Maya walked slowly toward the piano. Each step felt heavy. Her white cane tapped softly on the wooden floor. She could feel hundreds of eyes watching her every move. Some students had their phones out, ready to record what they thought would be an embarrassing moment. When Maya reached the piano bench, she carefully folded her white cane and set it beside her. She had done this thousands of times before, but her hands were shaking a little now. The piano was beautiful and big. She could smell the wood polish and feel the smooth surface of the keys. Maya sat down on the bench. She adjusted her position until she felt comfortable. Her feet found the pedals at the bottom of the piano. Everything felt right, just like at home when she practiced. "What would you like me to play?" Maya asked. Her voice carried clearly through the quiet room. Victor's smile became even wider. This was the moment he had been waiting for. "Surprise us?" he said with fake excitement. "Play anything that shows off your talents." Victor expected Maya to play "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" or some other baby song. He thought she might try a simple practice exercise that would sound boring and childish. He was already thinking about the cutting words he would say after she finished. Maya placed her hands gently on the keys. She closed her eyes, even though it made no difference to her sight. She needed to think and remember and feel. She thought about her father. He had been a piano player too, but not a famous one. He played at a small church and sometimes at weddings. When Maya was little, she would sit next to him on the piano bench. He would guide her tiny fingers to the right keys. "Music is not about showing off," her father had told her. "Music is about sharing your heart with other people. When you play, you tell them a story. You make them feel things they have never felt before." Maya thought about her mother. Every morning before work, her mother would listen to Maya practice. Even when Maya made mistakes, her mother would smile and say, "That was beautiful, sweetheart. Keep going." Her mother cleaned office buildings at night and worked at a grocery store during the day. She was always tired, but she never missed Maya's practice time. She said that Maya's music made all the hard worth it. Maya thought about Mrs. Rodriguez 3 years ago. Mrs. Rodriguez had heard Maya playing at a small community center. Maya was just playing for fun, but Mrs. Rodriguez knew she was hearing something special. "Would you like to learn more?" Mrs. Rodriguez had asked that day. When Maya's mother explained that they could not afford expensive lessons, Mrs. Rodriguez offered to teach Maya for free. "Talent like this should not be wasted," she had said. Maya thought about all the hours she had practiced. While other kids watched television or played video games, Maya sat at her old piano at home. She practiced scales until her fingers moved perfectly. She learned songs by listening to recordings over and over again. She had memorized hundreds of pieces of music. Her brain was like a library full of songs. She could play classical music, jazz, popular songs, anything she had ever heard. But right now, she needed to choose something special. Victor was getting impatient. "Well," he said, "we don't have all day." Maya made her decision. She would play Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. It was one of the hardest pieces ever written for piano. Most professional pianists struggled with it. It required perfect technique and deep emotional understanding. Maya had never played this piece in front of anyone before. She had learned it by listening to recordings and practicing alone in her room. It was her secret piece, the one she played when she needed to remember why she loved music, but Maya was not going to play it the way she had heard on recordings. She was going to play it her own way. She was going to put all of her feelings into it, all of her sadness about her father's death, all of her gratitude for her mother's love, all of her anger at people like Victor who tried to make her feel small. "I will play Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor," Maya announced clearly. The whispers in the room got louder. Students looked at each other with shock. Even Victor's confident smile flickered for just a moment. This was not what he had expected at all. Several piano students in the audience knew how hard this piece was. They had tried to learn it themselves and failed. It was a piece that only the very best pianists could play well. Many famous musicians had made careers just by being able to play this one piece beautifully. Maya ignored all the whispers and stares. She placed her hands in the starting position. Her left hand was ready to play the deep, low notes. Her right hand was positioned over the higher keys. She took a slow, deep breath. In her mind, Maya could see the music even though her eyes could not. She could see every note, every rhythm, every place where the music got loud or soft. She had studied this piece so carefully that it lived inside her heart. Maya thought about what she wanted to say with this music. She wanted to tell everyone about the beauty that existed in darkness. She wanted to show them that some things could only be truly seen with the heart. She wanted to prove that music belonged to anyone who loved it deeply enough. Victor stood at the side of the stage with his arms crossed. He was still confident that Maya would fail. Even if she had memorized this famous piece, he was sure she would make mistakes. He thought her technique would be sloppy and her interpretation would be childish. The other students leaned forward in their seats. Some of them were hoping Maya would succeed. Others were curious to see what would happen. A few were secretly hoping she would fail so they could feel better about their own abilities. Maya felt the smooth keys under her fingertips. She felt the potential energy waiting to be released. All around her, the room held its breath. This was the moment that would change everything. In a few seconds, Maya would begin to play, and nothing would ever be the same again. Maya pressed down on the first note. The sound that came from the piano was pure and clear and beautiful. It filled the room like light filling darkness. The ballade had begun. The first notes of Chopin's Ballade floated through the concert hall like magic. Maya's fingers moved across the keys with perfect control. Each note was clear and beautiful. The melody started soft and gentle, like someone telling a quiet story. Victor's confident smile began to fade. This was not what he had expected at all. Maya was not playing like a beginner. She was not making the simple mistakes he thought she would make. Her technique was perfect, but Victor told himself it was just the beginning. The ballade started easy, then became much harder. He was sure Maya would fail when the difficult parts came. Maya played the opening melody with incredible feeling. She was not just hitting the right notes. She was making the piano sing. Each phrase told part of a story. The music seemed to speak about sadness and hope and beauty all at the same time. Students in the audience stopped whispering. They leaned forward to listen more carefully. Even the ones who did not know much about classical music could tell that something special was happening. Mrs. Rodriguez sat in the back of the room. She had sneaked in to watch Maya. When she heard the first notes, tears came to her eyes. She had always known Maya was talented, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. Maya's left hand began to play deeper, richer notes. These notes provided a foundation for the melody, like the bass singer in a choir. Her right hand continued the main tune, but now it became more complex. More notes, faster rhythms, deeper emotions. Victor watched Maya's hands carefully. He was looking for any sign of weakness or mistake. But Maya's fingers moved like they belonged on the piano. They never hesitated. They never hit wrong notes. It was like the piano was part of her body. The music grew stronger and more intense. Maya played with complete confidence. She knew exactly where every note should go. She could feel the music flowing through her fingers and into the room. Some students had studied this piece before. They knew how difficult it was. They watched in amazement as Maya played passages that had taken them months to learn. She made the hardest parts look easy. Maya's whole body moved with the music. She swayed gently back and forth, feeling the rhythm in her bones. Her face showed the emotions of the music. When the melody was sad, she looked sad. When it became hopeful, her expression brightened. Victor began to feel uncomfortable. This was not going according to his plan. Maya was supposed to embarrass herself. Instead, she was playing better than most of his own students. Better than many professional pianists he knew. The ballade reached its first climax. The music became loud and powerful. Maya's hands flew across the keys, playing dozens of notes every second, but every note was perfect. Every rhythm was exact. The piano filled the room with glorious sound. Then the music became quiet again. Maya played the gentle middle section with incredible tenderness. This part of the piece was like a lullaby, soft and peaceful. Her touch on the keys was so light that the notes seemed to float in the air. Victor realized something that made his stomach feel sick. Maya was not just playing the notes correctly. She was interpreting the music in a way that he had never heard before. She understood something about this piece that he did not understand. Most pianists played this ballade with perfect technique but cold emotion. They focused on hitting all the right notes at the right speed. Maya was doing something completely different. She was playing with her heart. Every phrase told a story. Every note had meaning. Maya was not showing off her technical skill. She was sharing her soul with everyone in the room. The music began to build again. This time it was heading toward the most difficult part of the entire piece. Victor knew this section well. It required incredible finger strength and perfect coordination between both hands. Many great pianists struggled with these passages. Maya's fingers began the final section without any fear. Fast notes poured from the piano like water from a fountain. Her left hand played thundering bass notes while her right hand danced through complex melodies. The two hands worked together perfectly, like they were having a musical conversation. Students in the audience held their breath. Some of them tried to play this piece and had failed at exactly this spot. They watched Maya's hands in wonder, trying to understand how she made it look so easy, but Maya was not thinking about technical difficulty. She was thinking about the story the music told. In her mind, the fast notes were like emotions spinning out of control. The loud chords were like a heart breaking. The racing melodies were like someone running toward hope. Victor's face had gone completely pale. He realized that he was watching something extraordinary. Maya was not just a good pianist. She was a great one. Maybe even a genius. The music reached its final climax. Maya's entire body was involved now. Her shoulders moved with the rhythm. Her feet worked the pedals to make the sound richer and deeper. Her face showed complete concentration and joy. The piano seemed to explode with sound. Maya played the most difficult chords with perfect accuracy and incredible power. The music filled every corner of the room. It was loud enough to shake the windows, but every note was crystal clear. Some students started to cry. The music was so beautiful and so intense that their emotions overflowed. They had never heard anything like this before. They felt like they were experiencing something holy. Maya played the final rushing passages with breathtaking speed and accuracy. Her fingers moved so fast they seemed to blur, but every note rang out perfectly. The music raced toward its conclusion. Like a river rushing toward the ocean. Victor stood frozen at the side of the stage. His mouth was slightly open, his hands trembled. For the first time in his career, he was truly humbled. He realized that everything he thought he knew about music was incomplete. Maya had shown him that technical perfection was not enough. She had revealed that true artistry came from somewhere deeper than just training and practice. It came from the heart and soul and spirit. The music reached its final moments. Maya played the last few chords with incredible power and emotion. Each chord seemed to contain all the feelings in the world. Joy and sadness, hope and despair, love and loss, all mixed together in perfect harmony. Maya's hands lifted from the keys. The last notes hung in the air like stars in the night sky. Then slowly the sound faded away. The concert hall became completely silent. No one moved, no one breathed. Everyone sat in stunned amazement, trying to understand what they had just experienced. Maya sat quietly at the piano. Her hands rested gently in her lap. She had given everything she had to the music. She felt tired but happy, like someone who had just run a long race and reached the finish line. The silence stretched on and on. It was the kind of silence that happens after something miraculous. The kind of silence that people remember for the rest of their lives. The silence lasted forever and no time at all. Maya sat at the piano with her hands folded in her lap. She could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes on her, but she was not afraid anymore. She had done what she came to do. She had shared her music with the world. Somewhere in the back of the room, one person started to clap. The sound was soft at first, like rain beginning to fall. Then another person joined in, then another. Soon the gentle clapping grew into something much bigger. Maya heard the applause growing around her like a wave. It started small but became stronger and louder with each passing second. She had heard applause before, but never like this. This applause felt different. It felt real and honest and full of respect. Students began to stand up from their seats. First one, then 5, then 20, then everyone in the room was on their feet. The clapping became thunderous. Some people were cheering, others were crying. Many were doing both at the same time. Maya stood up from the piano bench and turned toward the audience. She could not see their faces, but she could feel their energy and emotion. The sound of their applause filled her heart with joy. For the first time in her life, she felt truly accepted as a musician. Mrs. Rodriguez was crying in the back of the room. She clapped so hard that her hands hurt, but she could not stop. She had always believed in Maya, but even she had not known her student was capable of something this magnificent. But everyone's eyes kept turning to Victor. The famous pianist stood at the side of the stage like a statue. His face had lost all color. His mouth was slightly open and his eyes were wide with shock. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost. The applause continued for several minutes. Students whistled and cheered. Some called out "Bravo," which is what people shout at concerts when the music is exceptional. Maya smiled and nodded politely, accepting their praise with quiet dignity. Slowly the applause began to fade. Students sat back down in their seats, but they continued to whisper excitedly to each other. Everyone wanted to talk about what they had just witnessed. Everyone knew they had seen something they would never forget. Maya picked up her white cane and prepared to leave the stage. She had done what she needed to do. She had proven that music belonged to anyone who truly loved it. Now she just wanted to go home and hug her mother, but Victor finally moved. He walked slowly across the stage toward Maya. His footsteps sounded different now. Before, they had been confident and proud. Now they were uncertain and humble. "Miss Chun," Victor said quietly. His voice was barely above a whisper. Maya stopped and turned toward him. She could hear something in his voice that had not been there before. The meanness was gone. The pride was gone. What remained sounded like genuine respect. "Miss Chun," Victor said again, "I owe you an apology that words cannot express." He paused, struggling to find the right thing to say. "What you just played, I have never heard Chopin interpreted that way. In 30 years of performing, I have never heard anything so beautiful." Maya listened carefully. She could tell that Victor was being honest now. The fake sweetness was gone from his voice. He sounded like a different person completely. "You have shown me something I did not know existed," Victor continued. His voice got quieter with each word. "I thought I understood music. I thought technique and training were everything. But you have taught me that true artistry comes from somewhere else entirely?" Victor took a deep breath. What he said next shocked everyone in the room, including himself. Would you consider allowing me to study with you? I believe I have much to learn." The room gasped. Students looked at each other in amazement. The famous Viktor Kozlov, who thought he was better than everyone else, was asking a 17-year-old blind girl to teach him. Maya was quiet for a long moment. She thought about everything that had happened. She thought about Victor's cruel words and his mean attitude. She had every right to be angry with him. She had every right to refuse his request, but Maya also thought about what her father had taught her. Music was not about anger or revenge. Music was about bringing people together. It was about healing and forgiveness and love. Mr. Kozlov, Maya said softly, I think we all have things to learn from each other. Music is not a competition, it is a conversation. I would be happy to share what I know, just as I hope to learn from others. Victor's eyes filled with tears. He had expected Maya to reject him or be cruel to him in return. Instead, she was offering him kindness and friendship. He realized that her character was as beautiful as her music. Thank you, Victor whispered. Thank you for your grace and your generosity. Thank you for showing me what music really means. The students in the audience were witnessing something incredible. They were watching a proud man learn humility. They were seeing the power of music to change hearts and minds. Many of them were crying again, but these were happy tears. News of Maya's performance spread quickly beyond the concert hall. Students called their friends and family. They posted videos on social media. They sent messages to music teachers and professional musicians. Within hours, the story was everywhere. Blind teenager stuns famous pianist. Unknown girl delivers performance of a lifetime. Young musician silences the world with incredible talent. But Maya did not care about the fame or attention. She just wanted to go home and tell her mother what had happened. She wanted to practice more and learn new pieces. She wanted to keep growing as a musician. Victor kept his promise. He became one of Maya's biggest supporters. He used his fame and connections to help her career. He arranged for her to perform with major orchestras. He made sure she got the recognition she deserved. More importantly, Victor changed how he treated all his students. He learned to look beyond what people could not do and focus on what they could do. He became a teacher who lifted people up instead of carrying them down. Maya's story inspired musicians all over the world. Blind students who had been told they could never succeed suddenly had hope. Music schools began to welcome students with disabilities. The classical music world became more open and inclusive, but for Maya, the most important thing was simpler than all the fame and recognition. She had proven to herself that she belonged in the world of music. She had shown that talent and passion could overcome any obstacle. Years later, when Maya became a famous concert pianist, people would ask her about that day at the music school. They wanted to know how it felt to silence a room full of people with her playing. Maya would always smile and give the same answer. I did not silence them, she would say. I gave them a voice. Music is not about being quiet. It is about singing together, each in our own way. Maya had learned something that day that Victor had forgotten. Music was not about proving you were better than other people. Music was about sharing the best parts of yourself with the world. It was about connecting hearts and souls across all the barriers that seemed to divide people. The blind girl had indeed silenced the world, but only for a moment. After that moment of silence came something much more beautiful. It came the sound of people understanding that music truly belonged to everyone who loved it enough to let it change their hearts. And in that understanding, the world became a little more beautiful, a little more kind, and a little more full of hope.